With the New York Rangers hiring a coach like Mike Sullivan, it is pretty evident that this team is definitely going to be looking to compete this upcoming season and are obviously going to be looking to get back into the playoffs. And if they want that to happen, having a few players that maybe had a bit of a down year in 2024-25 under Peter Laviolette have a big bounce back season could be pretty great. So in today's video, we've got 3 players we're going to talk about that I think if they can kind of have a bit of a bounce back season sort of, and it's not necessarily that these players were terrible this past season, but the point is I don't think they played as good as they potentially can for this team and maybe have at moments in the past. So there is that another level that we've seen or kind of hope to see, and I think we could potentially see that happen this upcoming season. So let's get right into it here, and we'll start off with player number 1 of 3, and that is, of course, Alexis Lafreniere. And for example, like I said, I don't think Alexis Lafreniere had a terrible season. I just don't think he was as good as he definitely could have been and has been at moments in the past for this team. Obviously, he had a really great 2023-24 regular season there, having 57 points. He got 28 goals, 29 assists. He had a career high in all 3 categories: goals, assists, and points that season. Of course, was a pretty solid kind of 2-way player as well. I thought did a decent job that season of just being a solid guy defensively. Did have a kind of low in hits there, but still overall I think played pretty great. Then you take a look at this past season, though, in 2024-25, he definitely took a pretty big step back. He went from the 28 goals in the previous season down to 17 this past season and only dropped 1 assist from the 2023-24 season where he was really good compared to last season. So he only dropped 1 assist there from 29 down to 28. So it wasn't as much of a drop off there, but in total, he goes down 12 points, and he also, though, goes down quite a bit of points on the even strength side of things there. So at 5-on-5, 4-on-4, whatever it is, at even strength, his numbers definitely did drop, though. It went from 26 even strength goals in 23-24 down to in 24-25, only 15. So 11 even strength goals less in a one season kind of difference there. That's a pretty major drop off. Then you take a look at the assist there. It did go up 1 even strength assist. So there's that. It went from 25 to 26 this past season, so it went up 1, but the goals went down quite a bit. 11 less even strength goals is a lot. And when you do consider how many players on the Rangers this past season kind of had a bit of a down year, I think it's fair to say that there is reason to have some hope for Lafreniere and kind of bouncing back. You take a look at guys like even Panarin and Trocheck. They didn't have great seasons for their standards. Now, of course, Panarin still led the team in points, but from the previous season, he still had a pretty big drop-off. Obviously, kind of heated up as things got going there, but he had a bit of a slower start compared to normal to begin, sort of, and I think a guy like Trocheck obviously just had a bit of a kind of bad year for his standards. So I think there is reason to have hope that not only Lafreniere can turn things around, but, his other line mates as well. If we can see, Panarin get back to that 100-point kind of mark or something around there, that would be pretty incredible. You see Trocheck get a lot closer to that point per game mark possibly and just be a bit better of an all-around player as well, because I do think he took a bit of a step back in the defensive zone as well. If all 3 of these guys can get back on track close to what they did in 2023-24 or even better, then I definitely think this team will be in a pretty good spot. And even in the down year that he had, he still ended up putting up 41 even strength points, which had him tied for 80th in the entire NHL alongside guys like Sean Couturier, Philip Deneau, Devin Tays, Alex DeBrincat, Evan Bouchard, even, guys like Seth Jarvis, for example. So I think it really goes to show that, Lafreniere, yes, he had a bit of a down season, but it wasn't that bad. And I do think there is absolutely reason to hope that a 23-year-old, even though he did have a bit of a drop-off from the previous season, can probably potentially get back on track and maybe even have a better season than what he did in 23-24, which I am absolutely hoping for throughout this upcoming season. Also, he did finish 2nd on the entire Rangers for even strength points above a guy like Vincent Trocheck. And next up here, we've got Braden Schneider, and this is someone who I think has, not quite taken that big step up like I've been kind of hoping for over the past few seasons now. I've been kind of waiting to see him really take that big step into becoming a really great pure kind of shutdown defenseman, and I don't think we've quite seen that yet. Now, I do think there's still that potential, of course. He is, still a 24-year-old guy, turned 24 on September 20th, so a few days ago now. He's still very young. He's a 6'4" right-handed defenseman. He's got that big size there, of course. He's a very, very physical player. This past season, 146 hits. The previous season, 167, then 147. So he's obviously a very physical guy. Even block shots wise is very good. Had at 145 this past season, then 133, then 130. So he is someone who can block a lot of shots. He can be a very physical player, but obviously it's not going to bring a whole lot offensively. He has now improved every single season offensively since the beginning of his career, really, but he hasn't really taken a huge step up in that area, and I don't really expect him to do that, obviously. He is definitely more of a defensive guy, but he's got a little bit of an offensive game here and there. Isn't a completely terrible puck mover, but obviously is not a great one, so he is going to bring the odd kind of good moment here and there offensively, but for the most part, is ideally, going to be that shutdown kind of guy, which I think we have definitely seen at moments, but I do hope we can kind of see it at a more consistent level and at a bit of a higher level. This is going to be an interesting kind of start to the season for Schneider, as he is, coming off of that kind of injury that he's kind of recovering from, obviously. So we'll see how that goes, of course, but I am really hoping this guy can take a big step, as there is the potential of him being in the top 4 of the New York Rangers defense core, as there is a kind of opening on the left side there, with it currently being either him or Carson Soucy, it seems like, or I guess Urho Vakanainen, but really it's not like going to be him. So it's really coming down to Soucy or Schneider for that second pairing left side on the defense core, which I really would rather see a guy like Schneider get that spot. And of course, with it being a veteran head coach like a Mike Sullivan, who has been kind of known to favor playing maybe some older, more experienced players over younger guys, maybe he does go with Soucy in that top 4 over him, but I really do just kind of hope it is Schneider in the top 4. Obviously, Soucy was pretty bad last season. I do expect him to be better, but I still think Schneider is definitely the better defenseman and probably is, even while playing on his offside. So I would rather see that switch happen there with, a guy like Schneider going to the left side there. Your defense core could look like on the top pair, Gavrikov, Foxy, the second pair, Schneider, Borgen, and the third pair could be Soucy and a guy like Scott Morrow potentially. And whether or not we do see Schneider make the jump from the right side over to the left very well might end up depending on how much they trust a guy like Scott Morrow to be an actual kind of, full-time NHLer to start things, as, he is still a young player. He is more of an offensive guy and, definitely isn't phenomenal defensively. So they might end up wanting to go with a more kind of veteran group, with that basically being a guy like Schneider on the third pair now, and then as your kind of left side of the defense core, you'd have Gavrikov, Soucy, and then Vakanainen probably. So that's where it's kind of a big question right now. Morrow definitely will play a potential factor in this, but at the end of the day, I do think Schneider could potentially have a pretty big season end. If he does, that would be a major help for this Rangers team that has definitely had some, pretty big defensive struggles at moments in past seasons. And next up here, we've got Igor Shesterkin, and I don't think this will be too surprising for many people, as this is someone who, of course, got the biggest goalie contract in NHL history and really and truly just did not have a great season. He didn't have a completely disastrous season, as, he still was one of the better goalies in the entire NHL, still finished 7th in the entire NHL for goals saved above expected with a 21.6 and had a goals saved above expected per 60, which was 13th with a .37, but those numbers don't really say he was a, top tier goalie, and that's what he's getting paid to be now. So I think one big thing of Igor is, yes, consistently, he has proven to be that elite guy come playoff time. And if you've been watching my videos for a bit now, you would know that I've talked about that a lot, where I think Igor has, single-handedly won a lot of playoff games for this team with how he's kind of carried this team along in moments in the past. But I do think in the regular season, though, other than that one Vezina winning season, he hasn't been that elite guy like he's now getting paid to be. So that's where I am really hopeful that we're going to see him get back on track to being that potential Vezina caliber guy. And I'm not saying he has to be, season in and season out a Vezina caliber like goalie, and doesn't have to be the Vezina guy every single year, but at least he's got to be up there near it and needs to be a consistently just great goalie. Doesn't have to be at that elite level every single time, but he's got to be a little more consistent, and I think that's one big area where he definitely needs to try and fix. Obviously, he is still a good goalie. I think he's still one of the better ones in the entire NHL. But now that he is getting paid this much money, $11.5 million per season, he's got to be a whole lot better than what he was throughout this past regular season. And if he is, that will definitely be a major help for this Rangers team. And it's not all on him. This past season was a disastrous kind of season for the entire team, especially defensively. So I don't think it was just Igor, but he was a part of it. He did not play the best for his standards, and I definitely think he should and hopefully will be better throughout this upcoming season. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post a video about the New York Rangers every single day at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts on Igor Shesterkin, Alexis Lafreniere, and Braden Schneider heading into this upcoming season? What are your expectations for them? I'll catch you in the next one, and let's go Rangers.